like it's never good news for the Lions.
No, never indeed.
Shame. All right, well, take me through game 2.
Well, game 2 takes place in Durban straight after the Bulls Lions match. That kicks off at 7:10. Got the Sharks up against the Stormers. Now, the Sharks have just returned from Australasia as well, but they did really, really well. They won 3 out of 4 games. So they're flying high at the top of both the South African Conference and the overall conference. You know, to their benefit as well this weekend, they play the final match. They would have seen how all their nearest competitors do as well. If they've managed to lose those games, then the Sharks, you know, with a victory would extend their lead and clinch hopefully an all-important home semi-final, which hopefully will then lead to a home final, which is key to winning this competition, as has been shown in the past. So we got the Sharks at home. Talking about them first, they made a controversial selection of Frans Steyn, who's been carrying this knee injury for a while now. He's actually unlikely to play in the Springbok Test, which followed this weekend. Yet Jake White has picked him to play in this match. So if he does pick up an injury, Heyneke Meyer, the Springbok coach, surely won't be happy with old Jake White, who was a previous Springbok coach himself. So from a South African point of view, holding thumbs that Frans Steyn comes through the match without aggravating his poor knee. But they'll have a tough match against the Stormers, who, since they returned from Australasia, have certainly played a lot better. You know, they've been on this win streak. They did really well against the Cheetahs last weekend, winning 33-0 at Newlands. You know, they'll be happy to leave the cold of Cape Town, head up the coast to Durban. I expect them to do really, really well. Unfortunately for them, they're missing Skalkberger, who was ruled out with a knock to the neck. So he's out of action. Dwayne Vermeulen will captain the team from number 8 in his absence. You know, it's the typical derby match, a coastal derby. The Sharks and Stormers know each other really, really well. They played in last year's Currie Cup final. You know, they're playing for South African berths, Springbok berths. So a lot of key matchups. So it should be really, really interesting. You know, the Stormers have moved gradually up the South African Conference and the overall log. You know, at one stage it looked like they were going to be the wooden spooners, but they're up to 3rd. There is a chance they could even get as high as 2nd in the South African Conference, but unlikely to make the playoffs. But they've got a lot to play for. In terms of result, I think I'm going to go just for the Sharks. Narrow victory for them. Home ground advantage playing a role there. Sharks by 4 points.
All right, and any players to look out for this weekend?
Well, having mentioned Frans Steyn, you know, his knee is going to be key. You know, if he limps off early, you know, the whole world, or whole of South Africa will certainly hold their breath, and hopefully it won't be a long-term injury. So, from his point of view, he's a player to watch. From the Stormers side, you know, they've got Peter Grant back on the bench, along with Dimitri Katsakidis, all filling in, hopefully, for Kurt Coleman, who's starting at Flav. It's clear that Alex Coetzee doesn't really know who his number 1, number 10 is, so he's covered all his options by including all his players in the squad. So we'll see how that pans out. And then for the Lions, you know, they've had the really good scrum this entire season, but for some reason they've replaced the entire front row. So I don't know if that's an admission that they're just throwing the game, really, or they have a cunning plan up their sleeves.
Maybe a cunning plan.
They could well do, but they've picked 3 players I don't think anyone's ever heard of. So hopefully they're not being thrown into the deep end against the Bulls, who notoriously have a really good pack of forwards. So those are the key players and front row to watch out for this weekend.
All right, Garen, well, you do great live updates throughout all the games every weekend. Can you let everyone know how they can challenge your predictions and follow your live updates?
Absolutely. You know, log on to sport24.co.za on Saturday for our live updates from both the games in Johannesburg and Durban. If you're at either of the games, please send through your pictures to mysport@sport24.co.za and we'll include them in our gallery. And log on to Super Brew to see how you do compared to us this weekend with your predictions.